Dear Masters, welcome back. We are going to be listening to chapter 9, Rebirth in Ancient Ayodhya. To understand this chapter a little bit better, I'm going to recap the previous chapters. So there were four maids that had come along with Sita Mata from Mithila to Ayodhya, and one of them left her body, and that was Usha, and Rohana went back to Mithila because her sister had gotten ill. And so two of them were left, Soma and Minakshi. And during the end of our last chapter, chapter 8, Minakshi was also on her deathbed, and before she left her body, she had asked Soma, "I don't feel that this place belongs to me. I've never considered Ayodhya as my birthplace, and I don't feel comfortable here. Do you think ever Ayodhya will ever be my place where I feel this is my place?" And Soma said, yes. Yes, there will be a time in your future births that this will happen to you, that you will feel Ayodhya as your place. And Minakshi at that point tells Soma, will you be there when I come back? So Soma took a pause and she answered, yes, I will be there when you come back. And with that, Minakshi leaves her body. And that's how we ended our chapter 8. So that was the recap from the last chapter. And now the new chapter, chapter 9, Rebirth in Ancient Ayodhya. So Minakshi has taken a new birth here, and she will be called Ansuya. So I will be going back and forth between Ansuya and Minakshi, but basically they are the same soul, two different bodies. So this chapter is narrated by Ansuya, previous body, Minakshi, same soul. So Ansuya here says, I'm born in a Kshatriya family, which is known as a warrior caste. And Treta Yuga is declining at this point and is the second of the four great ages of mankind. Her father worked in the administration of Ram's kingdom, and the mother was a housewife. She had older brothers who had gotten married and had moved away because of the trading or to get the better places and everything. So she was always home with her mother, and she spent a lot of time with her mother. And so obviously, since a child is so much closer to the mother, she was very attached to her mother. And some traits we will be seeing in this chapter from Minakshi. And as I had mentioned in the previously, or when I was starting this book, that whatever we are in this birth are always some traits are from our future, from our past birth. It could be a mole, it could be hair, it could be even our fears, our happiness, everything that comes along from our previous birth. It's not only one past birth, it could be many past births, right? So this Ansuya's parents had already seen how caring and how loving love for everything she has, Ansuya has, even while she was even when she was a child. And so that feeling of loving and caring came from the Minakshi, the trait from Minakshi, the trait that her Minakshi's father had taught her to love each and everybody, to care for everybody, to care for Raja Janak. So Minakshi had that trait, and that was passed on to Ansuya because she was the same soul. So her father, Ansuya's father, one day said, with so much love and caring, she would become a very devoted wife, and she loves to serve people. So Ansuya at this point thinks, I don't like the first part my father says about the devoted wife, but I do like the part where my father says that I like to serve people. The reason she did not like with the first part was also Minakshi's trait, because Minakshi had been told by her father that their family was cursed, and so she should not marry. And so that is why Minakshi never married. So that fear of also came to this birth as well. But in this birth, that fear turns into panic attacks. So it was much severe fear we'll hear in this chapter. And so as soon as the topic of her marriage came upon, she would get anxious and the panic attacks would happen. Then Ansuya says that Kosala, which was capital for Ayodhya, was a growing place. And my father traveled a good deal because of the work. And Ram had left his body when Ansuya was approximately 7 or 8 years of age. As I also had mentioned that I like to give my characters age. how old they are, so it's easier for you to understand. And Love Kush were ruling the place now. And so Love Kush had and I got an opportunity because Raja Ram, when he was alive, he wanted the girls to go to school. He wanted the girls to get educated. So here, my friends, I would like to tell you, if all the women in the group, or all the women, I should say, around us, if we are educated, that was because of the initiative of Sita Mata. Sita always wanted us girls to get educated, not only boys of a higher upper class or the Brahmin family, but all the girls should be educated. So after Sita Mata left her body, Ramji took an initiative to make sure that all girls were educated. So there was a lot of resistance because obviously the society was not ready for that. And all the sages and rishis usually, would go along with Ramji's plan. But at this point, where the girls' decision, where Raja Ram wanted the girls to get educated, there was a resistance from all the rishis, all the priests, and all the higher class families. But finally, the decision was made that, like how we have school buses now, there would be chariots running from home, carrying all the girls, to the Gurukul, to the school, basically. Gurukul means school, where everybody, all the girls will gather. They would not stay there for night, and they would be dropped off in the evening to, from school. So there will be no more like a hostel situation. They will be no boarding and lounging for them. They will come back at night. So that was the arrangement was done. And then she says, Ansuya says that the marriage of Mithila and Ayodhya was a new combination of power and education. And Sita Mata had brought that balance and harmony in Ayodhya. Ayodhya was a mighty power place with a great wisdom. And because of the with the with the great wisdom, they did not have they had lacked the education. And Sita Mata wanted the people to get educated as well, along with the wisdom. So there's no point if if you just have the power and you don't have the education to hold that power. So they should go hand in hand. That's what Mata's vision was. And so Ansuya says, my father was very reluctant to send me to school because obviously no girls in their family had been educated before. And she says the experience turned out to be a mixed experience for her to go to school. And after a few years in Gurukul, one day what happened was one of the teachers was reciting Ramayana, how Ramji got married, how Ramji was born, and all that. The whole story was unfolding. But the story came to the point where the Guru mentioned that Sita was kidnapped by Ravan. That brought a panic attack again to Meenakshi, and she went screaming, no, that is not possible. Again, trait of Meenakshi, because Ansuya is not able to accept the fact that Mata was kidnapped. According to her, Mata was a very strong woman that could not be kidnapped by anybody. So that puzzle piece was still not was loose there, not fitting in the story. So she was like, no, this is not possible. And so she ran off from the group. So nothing could be done to convince her that yes, Mata had been kidnapped, because the story, see what had happened was, because the Ayodhya was more power place, and wisdom was not there, education was not there, and men's society was dominating, the role of women was declining. So at this point, I would like to mention my visit with Dina ma'am. She had said that at least Sita's time, we heard a little bit about the women in our stories. We know a little bit about those women, what they did behind the scenes. But once the Krishna and Rukmani came, Rukmani is totally phased off. Today, if we think about it, we still know a lot about Sita in comparison to Rukmani. How many shows have been mentioned about Rukmani? We don't see too many TV shows about Rukmani. Yes, we see a lot of shows about Sita and Ram, but as the men dominating society kept on moving, the role of women started to diminish. So at this point, she was not able to, Ansuya was not able to put the puzzle piece together, and nothing could convince her. So eventually she ended up quitting school. And so the whole story was not adding up for her. And even her father tried to convince, what do you think that war happened between Ram and Ravan? There must be some reason for that war, right? And according to us, what we think is the puzzle pieces is adding up, that Sita got kidnapped, and that's where Ravan was attacked by Ram, and that's how the war happened. She goes, I don't know why the war happened, but it does not make sense to me that Sita got kidnapped. So she just got to the point that nobody could argue, and that chapter was closed. Nobody would talk about Lanka or Ravan, and that story would just, nobody talked about in the family anymore about that. That was a very sensitive issue that would kind of bring some panic attack kind of situation for Ansuya, so nobody wanted to talk about it. And she felt that Ram would not marry a woman as weak as somebody who could be easily kidnapped. When Ram married to Sita, that woman, any woman Ram had to marry, has to be that strong, that would endure the pain and the suffering that came along while they were in 14 years of jungle. That woman had to be really strong. And this story was very, kind of a yarn was tangled up, and it was not making sense to her. So this all caused, as I said, for her to leave the school. And so now she was spending more time with her mother, and the feeling of serving was there, and she would not care if she was helping a servant or she was helping elderly member of the family. So one day mom made a very good food, and it was a special day at their house, so mom cooked a lot of food. So while the servant was bringing the food to the table, it fell off. The servant accidentally tripped and the food fell off. So out of that gesture of that Meenakshi straight to help everybody, she got up quickly and started cleaning up. And at that point, the father got upset. The Ansuya's father got upset because he says, I am a big administrative person and such a higher post. So you're going to get married to somebody equivalent to my category, about my level. So you should not be acting like a servant. You should be acting like an owner, and you should not help. Let the servant clean up the mess. So that was a big issue that left a scar in the child's brain. So as a parent here, I would like to tell you that when we yell at the kids or we get upset with the kids, we don't know what kind of scar we are leaving at our in our child's mind. So when you go to bed today, I would like to think, I'm not saying that my father and my mother were not good parents. They raised me right. But there are certain things when they said something, and that when I was 10-year-old, oh, why did they say that? And it's still probably bothering you. Think of anything, if something is bothering from your childhood, and just let it go. Just forgive and move on. Try, sit in a meditation if you have to forgive somebody. But so this story, back to my story, that left a scar in Ansuya's mind. So the mother realized that the child was in pain. So she brought Ansuya on the side. She goes, you understand your father, it was not trying to hurt or being mean to you, but he's trying to explain you are in a high caliber of person with administrative, daughter of a being an administrative person. You should not act like a servant. You should act like an owner. Let him clean himself. Let him clean the mess that he made. So you should not do that. So he likes to, by now the society is also at that point that, the cleaner is supposed to do the cleaner job, the owner is supposed to do the owner job, the Kshatriya, the warrior caste is supposed to just go for fights and not do anything else. The housewife is supposed to do the only housewife work, and men are supposed to go work outside and earn money. So the society was getting classified by their different jobs, okay? So that incident really bothered her for a long time. And then Ansuya says, my favorite place to go was Saryu Nadi again. Saryu Nadi means river, Saryu River. And just because Meenakshi also liked to spend time at Saryu River because of Sita Mata, right? So again, Meenakshi trait is coming here. And she says that because Ayodhya was becoming a center of trade, a lot of foreigners was coming. And since a lot of foreigners were coming to trade, the place was not safe for young girls to be around by themselves. And I would go to Saryu River, and I felt like sometimes I felt like, that the Saryu River wants to give me some sort of message, but I was never alone. I always had a servant to accompany me because, this place was not safer anymore. So I felt like when people are around me, Saryu River is not going to give me any messages. But as I grew up, I felt like, there was something childish in my head. And I just said, that is not possible. No river is going to talk to me. So she just warded off or let go of that thought that, that a river is going to talk to her. So now she is getting older and now she's a marriageable age and Suya is marriageable age. But now again, her panic attacks are also getting worse. So anytime as I said, the topic of her marriage came, she would get panic. No, 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 I cannot marry. I cannot marry. The father said, what will happen if you marry? I don't know. Either I will die or my spouse will die or my kids will die. Dad is like, the father is goes, that's ridiculous. Who told you this thought? So I'm assuming all my friends know this is again a Meenakshi's trait because that's how Meenakshi's family was cursed. That if she gets married, either she will die or spouse will die or the kids will die. So basically she'll not have a happy married life. So that fear from same soul, different body has been transferred from Meenakshi's soul. So same soul is carrying away. So she says, so she got a marriage proposal from a co-worker of her father, who was also an administrative post, just like Ansuya's father. And so she was not ready for the marriage. The father said, this is such a perfect match. We both are same, we make same kind of money. We are same society people. It's a perfect match. What is wrong with it? But she would cry at a point that the panic attack would happen. And so she's not ready to marry. And no, and the father never wanted to force the child for her daughter to get married. So then one day, when you have a sick child in the house, or somebody is not able to heal themselves somehow, what is the common reaction? We go to the priest, we do some prayer ceremonies, we go to the different doctors, we do natural path, this thing, everything. So that's what's going on with the parents. They were trying every remedy to heal their daughter, what was going in, the fear that she has in her to get rid of it. So then one day, mom told the father, while she was alone with her husband, Ansuya's mom, she said, I've heard about this healer. She stayed long time with Sita Mata. I heard that she's very old. I'm not sure if she's alive or not, but there's no harm if we try to go talk to her and see if she can heal our daughter Ansuya. So that's our last hope. And she lives a bit far from here, and she had learned about the plant medicine from Sita Mata, and her name is Soma. So when the parents heard somebody walking past a room, they kept quiet, and they knew at that point that Ansuya, mother and the father knew that their conversation was heard by Ansuya. And Ansuya says, Father, please let me go visit this woman if this is my last hope. I want to get rid of this fear. I don't know where this fear came in from me. I'm not, see, they're not understanding that the previous birth. We as the meditators, we understand there's a previous birth. But this family is not into meditation. So they don't know about something about the fears from last birth or something like that. So she doesn't know where this fear is coming from. And she's like, I want to get rid of this fear. I don't know why I have these thoughts in myself. So I just want to get rid of these thoughts. So the father says, yes, I'll be busy at work. I have to travel for work and that place is really far away. I will make arrangements for you and the mother and with the guards and everything to make sure to take you guys there. So Ansuya was very happy. She didn't know who this woman was. She did not know Soma, but that name Soma brought a lot of feelings in her. Again, because the soul knew who Soma was. This body doesn't know who Soma was, but the soul of Ansuya knew who Soma was. So she got really excited. The name brought some feelings in her, but she was not able to pinpoint those feelings. Why is she getting that feeling of love for the name Soma? And also she says, I wanted to meet her because maybe she would tell me the real reason about that kidnapping. That kidnapping puzzle piece is still loose and I'm not able to plug it in the story. So maybe she will be able to tell me, the woman will be able to tell me that what was the story behind it. So if we are going to visit somebody, if we are going for a picnic, or let's say we're going to visit a family member, if you are going to visit your sister, you're excited about meeting a sister, right? But your husband might not be happy or excited to meet the brother-in-law as such. So, but on the other hand, if we are meeting his family, he might be excited and you might not be excited. So sometimes one family is going to one place, one person have a different agenda and the other person might have a different agenda. So here, Ansuya had an agenda that I would want to ask Soma about the story. Why is the story not fitting in right? But on the other hand, mom wanted her daughter to get healed. So mother had a different kind of agenda. So same place, same trip, but two people, they have different agenda. We will find out by the end of the story if they fulfill their wish when they meet Soma. So continuing my story, um, and when the mother sees the so much happiness and the glow in Ansuya's face, she that she's ready to go on a more like a trip, because she's never stepped out of her house in such a long trip. And so, of course, as a young girl, she's very excited. I'm going to be stepping out of the house for this long trip with guards and with chariot and everything. So, and I'm going to go meet somebody. So all that excitement was just taking over, and she was very happy. So Ansuya's mother says, don't get too excited. We don't know if she's alive or not. We didn't have cell phone then to check, hey, are you alive or not? So she says, we don't know if the woman is alive or not. But last I heard, she was very old and she was healing people. So we don't know if she will be able to solve her problem or not. Will she be able to heal you? So don't get your hopes high up. Ansuya says, my hopes were already high up. She's a young girl. You can't blame her, right? Since her father was in a high administrative post, it was very easy for them to make arrangements, and they finally reached the destination. They met with this guru who was more like a principal of that ashram, that area where Soma also lived. So he told the mother and the daughter that Soma lives a little bit further down, and they should take a rest at night here in the like the housing area where the housing area is, where all the students usually live. So they had made arrangements for the mother and daughter, excuse me, for the mother and daughter to live there. So they would just go a few steps down, the little bit further down where Soma lived, and come back at night and they can stay as long as they want in this housing area. So they were very comfortable. So the mother asked the guru, the teacher, or the principal, you can call him, that is she alive? Yes, she's alive. And does she have healing powers? So according to the guru did not say yes or no about the healing power. He did not confirm. All he says that it's been long time that Sita Mata has left her body, and a lot of people have come to visit her to get the healing from her. And I don't know if she heals or not, but whatever the reason is, all I can tell you is that after you meet her, you will feel that your wish has been fulfilled. Whoever came with whatever agenda they have, they will feel that their wish has been fulfilled. But on the other hand, if you ask Soma, hey, Soma, can you heal me? She will never say she healed you. She will always say that Sita Mata has helped me help you. She will never say that I have healed you. She will never take the credit for whatever knowledge she has retained from Sita Mata. But she says a lot of times when you see her, it will feel like she's already stepped out of this world. It will take her time, so don't just go barging in her room, in her little hut. You have to wait, because she always is in a meditative state. It's very hard for her to come back. And yes, she is very, very old at this point. And it feels like her body is very fragile and her soul is just waiting for Mata to come get her. And she always says like that, I don't know why I'm still alive. I'm just waiting for my Mata to come get me. So she keeps on saying that. So Ansuya says that that night I was very excited. I was overwhelmed at the same time. I was scared. A lot of mixed feelings were coming, and I couldn't sleep that night. I come outside while my mother was sleeping in the hut. I came outside. I started gazing at the stars, and no, I don't know what happened. I just started crying at that point. The emotions were rolling in the form of tears, but somehow those tears were relief tears. And she says, I don't know what my result will be. Will I be able to be healed, as my mother says, or will I find the puzzle story be intact? My story will be complete about the kidnapping. Will I get my answer or not? But whatever the consequences of this visit is, I promise myself I will go get married, because I don't want my parents to feel the pain. Whatever the thoughts I'm coming, if they come true, I will bear the pain. But I don't want my parents to see, in pain that I'm not married. See, nowadays, if the girls don't marry, it's okay. The society has accepted it. But back then, the society hadn't accepted it. If you're well-to-do family, you have to get married. That's the girls have to get married and bear the children and take care of the house. They cannot stay with their parents or live by themselves all their lives, as a lot of people. It's very common in our society nowadays that the girls or boys don't marry. Excuse me. So she says I was waiting for that morning to come by very fast. So in the morning, The mother is saying, okay, we have to go, but let's go quickly eat some breakfast. But Ansuya was very excited. Finally, one of the students, they dropped her, both mother and daughter, in front of Soma's hut. So Ansuya says to her mother, is it okay, mom, that can I enter the hut first by myself? Can you wait outside? I want to meet Soma by myself. So at that point, a little bit scenery is going. I'm going to explain the background because this is a very important part of the chapter. So Ansuya says that the sun is kind of coming up. It's like the very early morning. I open the door a little bit. I feel like there's a nice, very young lady sitting down, and her white hair, the glare is going of the sun on her hair from the hut as it's coming through the little bit small window on the side. And as I got closer, I felt like that woman was very old, but it felt like the woman was not even on in this body. She has already left her body, but she looked very fragile, but she was very calm, and that whole place was very peaceful. So I gently asked, Ansuya says, I gently asked, can I come in? And I heard a very slow, soft voice. Yes, my child, you can come in. The woman has still not opened her eyes, but I could just hear that voice. So that ends my chapter 9. I am not going to leave you dangling here, letting you know that Soma does recognize or not. So I will tell you the beginning of chapter 10, few lines, and then I will wrap up this session. So chapter 10, I will recap again next week. So chapter 10 is finding Soma. So when she says, when Ansuya hears the woman saying, Soma saying, come in, my child, Ansuya's feelings, let me tell you a little bit about Ansuya's feeling. Ansuya says, my words are stuck in my throat. I don't know how to react. And I don't know how to react to this whole situation. I feel that woman is trying to come back to this earth with her small little eyes are opening slowly while she's trying to put the strain in your eyes. Imagine a grandmother in your house, when she's very old and she's trying to recognize you. Is that you or your sister? Is that you or your brother? Which one is you, because you look so similar. So she's straining her eyes to um, look at Ansuya. So Soma is doing that. And her face is Ansuya says this woman's face is very crinkled. And then after few minutes of pause, Soma says, huh, it's you. This is my favorite part of this chapter, chapter 10. So basically, Soma recognizes Ansuya. And with that smile, she says, the sun completely shines out. The clouds have already gone, and I can feel the bright sun, and I feel that combination of that whole environment being in my body, and I feel very calm with her touch. But at this point of the story, Ansuya is still not recognized Soma, that how the connection is, but Soma has recognized Ansuya, that she's Meenakshi from the previous birth. I will stop the session here, and I thank you everyone for listening to the story. This is a lovely story, and I would want to keep on reading and narrating and narrating. I will open the floor for any questions for you guys. Thank you so much again for listening.
Masters, if someone have any question, please do ask to me now.
Actually, I did.
Yes.
Though, however, I know I missed previous this thing. So when you mentioned that Ansuya was Meenakshi before, did Meenakshi also have fears similar kind?
So Meenakshi did not have a fear from
previous life
birth. Yeah, from when Meenakshi that soul was in Meenakshi's form, she did not had a fear at that time. She was in love with this boy called Kiran, who was also in Mata's Mithila's. He took care of animals in Mithila kingdom. But the fear was installed by the father of Meenakshi that we as a family are cursed by our ancestor, one of their ancestors.
As in childhood.
Yes, as in childhood, yes. So you can never marry. So that father kept on repeating, even when she was 15ish, as I said, I like to put an age on my characters. So around about when she was 15-year-old, so they had a maid, Aditi, who was completing as a mother for a role model, she's playing a mother's role. Her mother had already passed, Minakshi's, when she was very young. So Aditi was taking care of Minakshi. So one day Aditi was cleaning, went to clean with her room, and she says, "Oh, your room is already clean. You're going to be perfect wife." And the father says, "No, she cannot get married." So Minakshi says, "Why can't I get married? I know I'm not very beautiful, but I'm an average girl. I have a mole and I have a long hair. But Raja Janak has taught us that outer beauty doesn't matter, and I should be able to get married. But why does my father keep on telling me that I'm not going to get married ever, and I should not get married?" So she asked her father, but her father says, "We are a cursed family. You cannot get married." And what the curse is, nobody knows yet, because And
So
then
in that life, Meenakshi never gets married.
Meenakshi never gets married. And
That's why.
Ansuya, the boy that proposal came, is the same boy from the previous birth, Kiran. Just not to give too much away in the story, but that proposal is same. And how these pieces come together, you will know in later. So even the Deena ma'am also said, when I visited Deena ma'am, I had mentioned this at the beginning of the story. I visited Deena ma'am at her house in New York. We did a recording, and it is on the platform if you want to hear. It's in Hindi if you want to hear that interview. Dikshita should have a copy. I don't have your number, but if you want Dikshita, if Dikshita you don't have it, I can send it to you. You can take it from Dikshita.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I'll share in the group.
Yes. Yeah. So even Deena ma'am said, whoever souls that Mata could not take or heal somehow, she took them with her when she came in a form of Rukmani, and Ramji came in a form of Krishna. So everybody, so even this marriage between Meenakshi and Kiran, in this birth, they are Ansuya, and Ansuya's this proposal that came in was also, this platform was set for the marriage by Ramji before he left.
Okay.
So he had planted the idea in Ansuya's dad's head and the boy's father. They both were in administrative. So when he and Ramji used to visit his people, just like Raja Janak used to visit people in Mithila, and he planted the idea, "Oh, your daughter is the same age as so-and-so's son. Maybe you should get married when the kids grow up." And Ramji never had this, "Oh, I am the king. I said it. You should do it." Never that attitude. He would just give an idea. It's up to you. You want to accept, more like a just suggestion kind of a thing. So he had suggested this marriage. And so and you will find out in the later chapter that this was a suggestion. At this point, Ansuya doesn't know anything about her past. And so Soma will make her comfortable to the point that she will say yes to the marriage, and she will be very happy, and she will get married with the same boy.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much for explanation.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you, Blossom.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Surbhi ma'am, for the wonderful session today, and very much excited, as Blossom said, for next week. Dear masters, we will be having the meditation for next 30 minutes now. Please sit comfortably